It is day 32 of the 1 year fast. This week, week 5, I'm fasting for 3 days in a row. Yesterday, Tuesday, today, and tomorrow, Thursday. So I'm about halfway through a 72-hour fast. And I'm feeling great, feeling really good, feeling energized, ready to tackle the day. So I've been drinking plenty of water with my hydrogen water bottle, so all that hydrogenated water, some electrolytes, but really just a good volume of water. Which leads me to some thoughts around the different types of fast you can do. So clearly you can see I do water fasts. I use my hydrogen water bottle. I probably drink about 10 of these per day. So, keep well hydrated. I do too include electrolytes whilst I'm fasting. So that's my approach to fasting. Of course, there's alternatives. There's dry fasting. I personally never do dry fasting, never have. Fasting when I was 16. So it's a long time ago, well, a few years. And over those years, I've done 24-hour fasts up until week fasts. But it's always been water fasts. I've never done a dry fast. Even a short fast, I don't engage with any dry fasts. Personally, they concern me. There's potential for kidney damage, etc. So I just avoid dry fasting. But I know there's many people that actually do engage dry fast, and they really they find a lot of value from dry fasting. Personally, I don't do it. Then of course there's the wet fast. So rather than just water, maybe there's other drinks too. So water, there could be some black coffee, maybe coffee with a splash of milk. Of course, all of the herbal teas. Some people do water with lemon. So those wet fasts are quite common too. And I think they're really great. So personally, I would go with a water fast, but also, I certainly would encourage people to engage with the wet fast. I personally would not recommend a dry fast. But everybody needs to work out their own path. I would also like to just touch on the subject of distinguishing the 1 year fast from intermittent fasting. There really is a clear difference between the two. Now, intermittent fasting is a very common protocol that's engaged quite extensively in this era. And typically, and there's variance to this, but typically intermittent fasting involves fasting for 16 hours and then having a contracted 8-hour window for consumption. Some people question whether that's true fasting or not. Personally, I believe it's fasting. It shows intent to abstain from consumption for quite a protracted period of time, 16 hours. Okay, there's a sleeping period within that 16 hours, so you buffer that with 4 hours at one end and 4 hours at the other. Maybe it's not overbearing, but it's still a very laudable endeavor. And personally, I've done it in the past, and I feel it's great. Conversely, in contrast, 1 year fast involves at least a 24-hour fast, but typically, as I'm doing now, it's a 72-hour fast. So it's 3 days of full fasting every week for 52 consecutive weeks. So there's clearly a chasm of difference between intermittent fasting, which is highly laudable, and the 1 year fast. This is the first time, of course, that I've considered and engaged in the 1 year fast. 3 days of fasting per week for 52 consecutive weeks. And currently I'm finding it quite beneficial. I'm finding I've got my energy levels are up. I'm feeling, to be honest, more thoughtful, more alert mentally. Definitely thinking a lot more. So I'm seeing some really good indicators early on to the value of the 1 year fast. Clearly, there's many days to go, but I'm at this early stage, day 32 of the 1 year fast, I'm seeing some good positive indicators. And I hope to document them. And clearly part of that documentation will be these videos. These videos are absolutely critical in painting that overall picture around the positive or negative parts of a 1 year fast. Okay, so again, I do water fasts. I love my hydrogen water bottle, hydrogenated water. I find it really beneficial. I think wet fasts, again, if you're fasting, drinking water, tea, coffee, herbal teas, lemon with water, I think that's fantastic too. And also when I fast, water fast, I do consume electrolytes. But personally, I don't encourage dry fasting. And again, there's a clear distinction, a chasm of difference between intermittent fasting, which is highly laudable and should be encouraged, and the 1 year fast. A moment of reverie, which I'm going to engage as often as I can. And again, those moments of reverie are really there to hopefully surface psychological, emotional, mental indicators that can be insightful when we look back at the end of the 1 year fast. What gets me really intrigued is the concept of prana, living off the air, life force, living off light. So living in a way where we don't consume. As we know, there are many in the Vedic texts that claim to live without food consumption in terms of living off prana, living off the air. I think there's modern concepts around Breatharianism, Inedia, where people claim to just consume the nutrients from the air, from light, from a life force beyond our knowing. It's always been really fascinating to me. And you kind of ask yourself the question, is that potentially part of our evolution? So as we evolve as a species, would we get to a place where it's not necessary to consume food, to actually live off life force around us? Is that feasible? It's kind of just the idea seems bittersweet, doesn't it? Sweet in terms of, well, saves us the trouble of finding food, and also there's all the benefits of non-consumption and equality. But then maybe there's also the counter-argument that says, well, we're going to miss out. People enjoy eating food. It's a pleasure for many people, if not all people. So yeah, definitely bittersweet. But the whole concept of Breatharianism, Inedia, Prana, is pretty fascinating stuff. I'm certainly not going to try it. I know there's been claims in history, which are obviously very difficult to measure because they're historic, and there's also been more contemporary claims, but when those individuals are brought into a laboratory for analysis, they're unable to demonstrate the veracity of that particular existence. But I'm certainly not going to doubt it. I'm sure there is some dimension where a level of Breatharianism or Inedia or living off life force, which essentially precludes the need to consume orally food. Yeah, I'm sure there's a dimension out there somewhere for that. Yeah, it's always fascinated me, and of course very relevant to the 1 year fast. But I'm certainly not at the level of spiritual advancement or elevation where I could step into that type of existence. It'd be interesting maybe just to meet somebody that claims they do have that capacity. I believe there's actually an organisation in the US, the Breatharian Society. So maybe I should reach out just to get some information. It'd be kind of interesting just to understand more of the deeper layers of the concept. But definitely fascinating. But I have to say, although I'm obviously following the protocol of the 1 year fast, I do enjoy food. I enjoy eating food. Whether that's a good stew, of course, vegetarian, whether that's even a piece of bread or even a sweet treat. I enjoy eating, so I'm not sure I would want to be a breatharian or somebody that lives off of prana. But definitely intrigued by the concept. So I just want to surface that as maybe a conversation point, and maybe we can discuss that over the coming days, weeks, and months of the 1 year fast. Yeah, I'm definitely going to return to this subject. Maybe I need to do a bit more research, because this is reverie. It just entered my mind, and I thought, well, it's definitely fascinated me over the years. So, Breatharianism, Inedia, Prana, all interesting topics. Definitely going to dig into those. So I'm about coming up to 48 hours into my 72-hour fast. I'm not going to bother taking my ketones just yet. I'm going to do the ketone reading tomorrow. I did try after 48 hours with a new ketone reader. Didn't see any success. So I thought I'd just hold off, maybe an hour 65 or so. Try then and see if we get some readings. If I don't, as I said yesterday, I'll probably buy a new ketone reader. One more bash in terms of the breath-based ketone reader. And take it from there. So just to quickly summarize, in terms of the 1 year fast, on day 32, seeing some real progress, feeling really good, definitely energized, no mental, psychological, emotional concerns that I'm aware of, feeling really well. I did mention earlier, I tried to conduct fasts as a water fast with electrolytes. So I do have electrolytes in the water. But of course, there's variance in terms of fasting that we discussed earlier. Do you want to go wet-based, and wet-based being really liquids that are acceptable for a fast beyond water, teas, coffees, herbal teas, lemon juice. And then, of course, there's dry fasting, which, again, I want to really emphasize, I do not recommend. Okay, so that's the conclusion of day 32 of the 1 year fast. Thank you.